Hey guys, and I know I said I wouldn't be making a new what if, but here I am. Somebody had actually had told me, had somewhat asked me on the part 2 video of what if Famine Naruto had the Rinnegan, because I didn't say that in episode. The more, say, Naruto uses Kurama being a female, chakra, the more feminine he'd get, so he'd grow breast and hips would widen, but he'd still stay male. Though I didn't say that, and so like the person I'd thought, like the more Naruto uses her chakra, the more female Naruto would get. And I'd, though slightly wrong, but was almost spot on, and that in other words, it slowly turn, the more Naruto uses it and the higher the amount of chakra Naruto uses, the faster Naruto would turn into a girl. So yeah, and well, I don't really know why don't really exactly know how to start this. So yeah, so this is what if Kurama's chakra turned Naruto into a female, part 1. And yeah, so let's get into this. So when we'll be starting when Naruto's 4, when Naruto's 6, 8, 10, 12, 20. No, not when he's 20. We'll be starting off in nearing the end of the wave. Actually, it'd be roughly the end of the wave arc, the Land of Waves arc. One thing changed would make pretty much almost different. So Sasuke had just fallen down to Naruto. He just died. He just heard Sasuke's last wish for Naruto himself to kill his brother. Sasuke asked him, could Naruto kill his older brother for him, as he's dead, to get revenge on his parents, on his clan. As Naruto, just something snapped in him, something like a anger deep down for losing a friend, for not being strong enough, for being weak. He had wanted to pretty much become strong so that he wouldn't lose anybody. He wanted to be strong so that a situation like this could never happen. Yet it has. He'd start getting angry as he'd start pulling on the fox's chakra, and only as then the fox would snap open her eyes and would be somewhat confused, because to her this was like a massive amount of chakra, as none of her Jinchuriki have ever drawn from her. Well, Naruto somewhat has, though that was being the seal to somewhat harmonise, stabilise their chakra together, so that Naruto wouldn't get poisoned any time, or get any type of chakra disease or that from drawing on the fox's chakra. Because some tailed beasts, some Jinchuriki had suffered a chakra issue. Pretty much there's 2 types of chakra in their system, and it was so slowly killing them. Though the seal had pretty much stabilized so that his body would run on his own produced chakra, or Kurama's chakra. As Naruto had opened his eyes as he'd look around. This wasn't the battlefield, this wasn't the bridge. Where was he? As he'd somewhat look around frantically almost, as he'd think, I definitely know I wasn't in the sewer. As he'd hear a voice, come here, follow my voice. As Naruto would, his kind of more curiosity and wondering where the heck he was and who brought him here. As he wouldn't want to run, he'd just run there. As he'd arrive a couple of seconds later, as it'd be met by a giant gate. As it asks, who's there? As a giant figure would then approach the gate, as lights would come on, as then Naruto would somewhat gasp and step back as he'd started walking forward towards the gate, but he'd stepped back now in somewhat of fear, and he'd go, you're calm down, kid. If you're willing to listen to me, if you want my help, you must listen to me first. Got it? Naruto would somewhat gulp and nod shakily, as I should somewhat say, good. Now then, just like you're looked upon in the village you live in like a monster, so why are you looking at me like I'm a monster? I can clearly speak your language. I'm clearly no monster, yet you somewhat think I am. Why is that? I thought you somewhat agreed to never somewhat let someone decide what you're thinking, yet you clearly have. You haven't produced your own opinion of me. You've just gone with the crowd and followed them in some way. Naruto somewhat looked down and like a shame. He'd remember saying that a long while ago, and and it's somewhat say quite sorry, as Kurama really worried she didn't want an apology, though was surprised that she got one out of him, and it just said, I wasn't looking for an apology. I was just saying, as long as you're willing to listen to me, I will at least help you, at least this once. Naruto would just shakenly nod, as should recall the 9 Tails attack and tell Naruto from her point of view what happened, as Naruto would go wide-eyed. She'd somewhat slipped up. She'd gone and told Naruto who his mother was, and then had somewhat decided on her head she'd keep Naruto's father's secret, though she'd practically used both father and Hokage interchangeably, for Hokage, which had pretty much sent Naruto into another shock, as once she'd somewhat finished telling her tale that Naruto was listening to, she'd somewhat kind of now come back to about the reality of her being in Naruto, as she'd look at him and realise she was panicking about something else now, as she'd kind of curse herself for revealing who his father was, as he can't be my father, right? He can't be. You're just as. I'm sorry, kid. I'm so sorry, but it's true. He was your father. Nando would have tears in his eyes. It can't be. It's like, well, it is. You've got his hair, his hair colour, your hair is just like his, spiky blonde. Your eyes are exactly his. You've got the face of your mother. And while you somewhat share, intelligence is, well, don't exactly want to say, but the way your personality wise, you're more your mother than your father. I'll say that much. You've somewhat got your father's looks with a bit of your mother, though you're 100% of her personality wise. Not to be somewhat surprised of hearing this. I would somewhat ask some more as it goes. Well, talk more later, but first, Naruto. You're a ninja. You must kill the person you're facing. As Naruto somewhat snapped back into kind of reality, his body was on. So, what's going on? Calm down, kid. In here we could have a talk for a year and only a second shall pass. Though it may change, but due to your kind of, how you were, at least when I pulled you in, 1 year here is equal to roughly a second out there, so don't worry for now. And right now, nothing really has happened, so when you get back and when you get some more chakra, I want you to kill her, Naruto. You must kill this opponent of yours. You're a ninja. Ninjas kill, but you must. Otherwise, you shouldn't have chosen this as your profession in life. Naruto would sigh. It was true, and you just nod reluctantly and say, I will. I was going to say, I know it's hard, kid, but I will be here for you. I'm kind of somewhat always here for you, always healing you. It was Naruto somewhat went from that, as he did somewhat get himself hurt quite a fair bit when he was growing up, and majority of him getting hurt was generally his own fault, and he'd really have to thank her. So you go, anyway, kid, when you return, grab your kunai and kill her in the heart. Got it? I would just not though to have a tear fall down, as he never really wanted to kill anyone, and he knew he would eventually have to, but he didn't know this soon. He was only gaining for a month after all. And yes, I know that he's probably spent more time as a gaining, but hey, I'm changing stuff up here. So, yeah. As he'd nod as he would then start fading, as he would then completely fade away, as he'd get angry, of course the chakra swirl, and that would all happen. He'd let out a somewhat primal roar of frustration and sadness, as practically all the fight would stop dead in its tracks, which really wasn't much. Sasuke was somewhat on the floor, apparently dead, to what Naruto had thought. Kakashi and Zabuza had stopped fighting, and Kakashi had immediately thought, has the seal broken? No, it's weakened. It's only weakened. As he would then somewhat pull out his scroll and do his thing. As Naruto would then grab a kunai from his kunai pouch and rush at Haku, though Haku wouldn't be fast enough, as the kunai well, Naruto would just stab the kunai right through Haku's heart, as she'd cough up blood, as she'd look at Naruto, as she could see Naruto didn't want to do this, but had to. As she'd somewhat smile, as she'd go, don't worry, Naruto, you did the right thing. As a tear would roll out his eye, just one thing though, when I die, could you at least put me by Zabuzar's body if he does die, as should cough up blood as well. Naruto would just nod, not trusting his voice at the moment, as you'd say one more thing. If you'd ever wanted to say try like my eyes, and people would no doubt call it a Geki Genkai, and yes, once I was born with it. There's one thing you must know: there's no such thing as a Geki Genkai of elemental affinity. If you don't know what that is sensei to tell you. Just promise me that this Naruto, that you will always protect your loved ones. She'd be dead, as her body would fall forward as Naruto would catch it, as he didn't know what to feel. He confused. He'd felt like a monster. As Kakashi, then they'd be hurt like a kind of birds chirping, as Naruto would somewhat look up as the fog would go away, the mist, as Kakashi, he'd see his sensei with his hand through Zabuzar's own heart, as Zabuzar would see Haku and would look to Kakashi and go, one thing, Hatake, could you at least let me lie down by Haku's body? Kakashi would nod, and Naruto and Kakashi would pretty much walk towards each other carrying the dead bodies. Sakura had ran towards Sasuke, seeing he was down, as she just stopped crying on Sasuke, as Kakashi and Naruto would somewhat meet in the middle, as they'd placed the two down together, as both Haku and Zabuzar would be dead, as Kakashi would look at Naruto and would say, I'm before you could finish what he was going to say, they would hear clapping. Naruto would look up, as he'd still be drawing on the small part of what he did draw on Kuramas chakra that was still circulating. He was still pulling on Kuramas chakra, as he'd hear clapping, he'd look up as Gato would just be there clapping as people would come past as he'd go, I've seen you two have killed them. Well, you've at least saved me the time of killing those two. I was already planning on killing them, and well, at least getting Sabzar's head though. I may have at least kept the gal around a bit and had a bit of fun time, but oh well, she's dead now, I guess, as Naruto would snap something even deeper inside of him, would snap it'd be primal, as Kurama would be somewhat scared for even her own Shinchoki. She'd heard from Matatari, Matatari really the only one that would Matatari being the only really sister to her that would really talk to her, besides from I forgot his name, the Eight Tails. He would occasionally talk to his somewhat my older sister, kind of occasionally, but not that often. But they'd warned her that when their Jinchuriki get mad, they draw on their chakra, and that's what was going through her mind right now. But should feel for the connection of chakra that was flowing towards Naruto, and yet nothing had happened. It hadn't increased or decreased. Though, say, somewhat think of it, say, like a hole in a wall. Like the hole was, say, so big, and you can say, and so much water, say, could flow through. Though the more, say, and that the hole is, say, equal, say, to a like 1/10 of chakra flow. So of course, if Naruto can enter 1/10 chakra mode and control it, but if he'd pour on even more, he'd somewhat lose control, as the pretty much edges would start to crack. There'd be more flow, but uncontrolled flow, and thus he would lose control of himself, as he can't, say, in a way, control the flow. Because it was a small amount of chakra, Naruto was in theory, say, making the hole smaller to increase, say, like the, say, pressure. So, in other words, so he was getting chakra, but instead of like drawing on more to equal the same amount of power, he would say somewhat, say, kind of constrict the hole, increasing, say, pressure, which would increase, say, the amount, the like density. So chakra rate would slow down, or at least on his side, but to Kurama, he'd still pulling the same, but now to receive even less but more dense chakra in a way, and Naruto was somewhat harmonizing his own, and all unconsciously he'd be doing this, harmonizing his own chakra with hers in a way that would increase his strength, and that almost tenfold. They would be scared. Well, Kakashi would look over and see just Naruto was angry. He just knew Naruto had somewhat snapped and already drawn on the Fox's chakra. He'd thought, had Naruto lost it? Has Naruto now truly lost control? Is it what he didn't know? As Naruto just making an X symbol as 2,000 clones would appear, as they would all just charge at the 100 people army that Gato had called upon, as the clones would be popping, but also would be killing, slaughtering the kind of mercenaries, as the last clone would pop as Gato would be walking away, as Naruto would just walk up silently, angry, as what's going through Naruto's head is that if Gato had, if Gato had never hired him, then Haku would still be alive, Zabuza would still be alive, those two would still somewhat be alive, life would have somewhat been spared, as if he didn't kill Haku, maybe Haku would be here right now to possibly help him defeat this monster in front of him. And Naruto would just be silently walking up to him as Gato just walking away. He just, obviously the village had come just after Kakashi and Naruto had put Zabuza and Haku down together. They'd arrive and they'd just seen Naruto produce 2,000 clones and slaughter the entire army, as they'd still see Naruto approaching not Zabuza, and just be approaching him slowly, and would eventually arrive at a quivering Gato, as Gato go, I can give you anything you want. Money, girls, you name it, you can have it. As Naruto just say one thing in a very cold voice: you're deaf. As he then cut Zabuza, not Zabuza, damn it, damn it, one second guys, as you just cut Gato's head off, as Kakashi would just be looking at Naruto, would be staring at Naruto, scared, worried for his somewhat little brother. He'd seen Naruto as this was also a wake-up call. He'd seen he'd been laxed with training, hack all the Jonin have, and this is what had gotten him. He'd been too laxed, and now Naruto just had to kill like 102 people. There's 100 mercenaries plus Haku, which he'd killed before, the 100 mercenaries, so 101 plus now Gato, so 102 people he just killed in a single day. Most people generally couldn't handle one, and very few, it was rare to kill up to around 10 on your first, like having your first kill, and Naruto just went, no, I'll do triple digits on my first kill. As Naruto just, after calming down, after the chakra had receded back, he'd just run over to the edge of the bridge and just throw up. The people just wouldn't know how to react. They had heard what Gato had said, and they didn't exactly know what to feel, though they could see at least Naruto had somewhat known the gal, and he made some of them angry as well, and Kakashi had known like that. Obviously he'd seen the way Naruto was, and he'd seen well, he'd seen Krishna like that before, though never drawn on the Fox chakra, and she'd slaughtered thousands of people for triggering that exact thing. It was a trigger within the Uzumaki that could pretty much turn them from their nice, like bubbly, friendly family person to an absolute killing machine, and would slaughter thousands or millions to trillions of people before calming down. And then, yeah, last thing about it, at least, Krishna always played it off like she never remembered, though she did. And Kakashi somewhat guessed she did, but yeah, it wasn't nice. Yeah, somewhat having like a trigger that could turn you from how you like a bubbly personality to an immediate killing machine where you'd remember everyone you killed. Naruto, obviously Naruto had clearly been the fact that he just thrown up. As Naruto then passed out, he just made 2,000 clones, more than he'd ever really had. I'd put at least a somewhat strain on his reserves, and yeah, whilst he could, angered, could probably easily make 10,000, but he was enraged, and yeah, and so Kakashi would pick Naruto up and would drop him by his chakra as Sasuke then somewhat coughed as she'd put her head up and she'd look at Sasuke as Sasuke would go, did Naruto kill that how was Sasuke just nod her head, yes, though that's not the only thing he killed. Sasuke would somewhat look at her with what do you mean? That, did he kill that Zappa person as well? As she'd, Sasuke would somewhat grunt, though, and pushes back up as you just look at the blood everywhere, as you'd go wide eye in the bodies, as you'd look at Sakura would go, I don't know, after killing her, he just brought her to Kakashi and Naruto brought them together and laid them down, and then the villagers would arrive, and then 100 people, I don't know, had arrived with a man clapping as he'd somewhat threatened, said that he'd somewhat use her in a not so great way. He'd rape her practically before killing her, and I don't know what, but that snapped Naruto and he'd slaughtered them all. Sasuke had gone wide-eyed. He'd somewhat expected Naruto to possibly kill the girl, but he didn't expect Naruto to kill 100 people or 101 people. He didn't even. He was surprised that Naruto had killed the girl, and now he's somewhat killed 101 people. He just killed 102 people in a single day with people watching. You'd look over and see the somewhat kind of pale kind of face, and knew Naruto yeah, it was affecting him as Kakashi would go through the hand signs and would do water style, water wave, though it generally can be strong, but it made it weak to just clear all the bodies and, blood off the bridge, though he'd leave, he would step somewhat in front of, Haku and Zabuza's bodies. Those at the very least deserved a grave, but these they didn't. They were disgusting people, as the bodies would just wash off into the ocean. As the bridge builder would step up and go, will he be alright? Kakashi would go, well, it's always hard for a ninja when it's their first kill, but no, Naruto, he'll pull through. Though, give him a couple of days and he'll probably be back to his same happy self again. He would nod as he'd go, well, let's go back, you can rest. As Kakashi would just nod, as though Kakashi would pick up Naruto, though he was going to pick up Sasuke, though Sasuke just wiped his hand away and somewhat got up, and he'd already pulled out all the senbon that was in him, and after grunting quite a lot and getting up, he'd somewhat move, though Sakura, not out of being a fangirl and just wanting to touch him, he was just out of general teammate needs help carry, walk, and would at least help him, though Sasuke would at least try and kind of throw her away at least, though it wasn't working, and finally he'd just give up and accept the help. Though Kakashi had made a clone I'd made two clones to carry Zabuza and Haku's body, as they would go up to a hill, the same hill in canon, and would bury them there, with using, of course, Zabuza's sword as Zabuza's pretty much gravestone, as the bridge would go, you can make those clones too. Kakashi would nod, yeah, I can, but nowhere near Naruto. He is something else. He can make thousands of them, and like the best a ninja of my caliber can do is 10, maybe 12, 15 at most. Yet Naruto could easily do 1,000 and have them do stuff that, other, say, my clones could struggle with at making 15. He could, find easy to do, as it just kind of nod. But I'm saying that at least in whatever they used to make the clones, Naruto had a lot more, and thus obviously it was just a lot easier for whatever reason for Naruto to make more than the average person could do, roughly. Though the average person could make 0. The average ninja, 0. The other Journey, or the average tuning, 1 to 2, depending on reserves and journeying. 3 or 4, and Anbu around like 3, 4, 5. Kakashi was of course a prodigy, and thus could obviously make 10, 15. If he hadn't had the Sharingan, he could probably make 20. But because the Sharingan's always draining a part of his chakra constantly, he could only make 15. And that's not 15 useful clones, that's just 15 clones that can walk about and do hand-to-hand combat. He could make 10 and at least maybe do low-level jutsus, make 5, and they could use jutsu, like medium jutsu, but wouldn't be able to use Sharingan as it would pop them before they could pull it up, and they would almost immediately pop as it would pull even more. So yeah. Anyway, Naruto legitimately passed out though, just before he blacked out. He was pulled inside his mindscape, so he's pretty much saved from his body's blackout. As Naruto just look around, he was in the same place again, in front of the same big cage. Though it looked even more gloomier than ever, as the fox would just say, I'm here, just speak. Obviously she poured Naruto in, knowing that Naruto would have to get this all out, and it would be no good Naruto freaking out once he'd woken up. It would probably cause him more harm than good. So at least he could wake up somewhat calm and then get possibly proper help. He would just go beyond the bars. He'd go beyond the bars, which would surprise her, as Naruto would just somewhat then, in front of her face, collapse onto his hands and knees and just cry his eyes out. Well, he'd fall back onto his knees and would just cry his eyes out, as she didn't exactly know what to do. She didn't want to exactly show her human form, but it was also the only way to help him in a way. As she'd mull over, would sigh, and would somewhat transform into a human form, and would walk up to him and just cuddle him, and would just stroke his hair, saying, "Everything will be alright." Go, as Naruto just cry, I'm still going your low monster. Remember, a ninja's kill, and it's always hard, and it's always hard your first kill, but you'd gone above and beyond. Just think of the best way to do it. Think of all the people they would have hurt, all the people you've unknowingly saved from a terrible fate of being raped, of being sold as slaves, of being sold as sex slaves and whatever. So just remember, kid, whilst you may kill people and you will hate it, I can tell you hate it, think of the good. One enemy, one bad person dying, think about the good it will bring in the world. Not the bad, but the good. Think of the bad that a person could have done, and realize the good you have just saved many people's fate, many people losing family, friends, loved ones. Just now to cry even harder, and should think, but should think that that's the right thing to say, right? What did I say wrong? Isn't that to say? But what happened if they had family? What happens if they had friends? I just killed them. Now that I still look like the monster to them, they would want. Yeah, Matt had somewhat brought up a good point. What's the point of war when everyone lost something? War was stupid. If you wanted to do war with clones. Like, though that was somewhat of a stupid idea, being like, Jinchuriki being really the only ones to make huge amount of clones, and like Uzumaki's would be the only ones without needing a Jinchuriki to be able to go, nah, you stay away from us, otherwise we're making an army of clones ourselves. So yeah, anyway, yeah, it is somewhat continue to try to conceal Naruto, as Naruto somewhat calm down, as he'd go, why do people kill? Why are people mean? To be honest, Naruto, people your kind do it for the weirdest reason. War is not good. War is stupid in my opinion, and possibly even yours. You on both sides lose loved ones, and it's just stupid. One leader simply hates another and wants that person dead, and Konoha, though your village, though luckily somewhat shares your ideals and on wanting peace, so I guess that's somewhat good, right? At least you're Count Hokage, and the two before him and the one after him had all wanted peace in the world. And to me, you could be the one to bring that peace, Naruto. Though with that peace, you must to strive for that peace, you must kill as well. It is somewhat bitter, but you must do some bad, and you must do some bad to bring good. And yeah, Naruto would nod and go, well, I guess maybe I still want to be Hokage, but I also want to not just become Hokage, but become the Hokage that brings peace to the world, that brings peace to the nations, the elemental nations as a whole, the whole world. No more wars, no more fighting, just peace. And she would nod and go, if that's your plan, then you're gonna need help, and I'll be there for you, but you must know, Naruto, for you to continue using my chakra, there comes a price. Naruto would look up with blood red eyes, bloodshot eyes, as he'd just nod and go, what is it? Well, for one, the more chakra you use, the more likely you are to lose control of it. So you must learn to you must learn to control your emotions when you use my chakra, as it must definitely heighten your emotions. And two, the more you use my chakra, the more you will slowly turn into girls. Not go, what do you mean? Well, as I'm a girl, the more you pull on my chakra, Naruto, the more your body will change into a girl. So, and a girl has breasts, and obviously you'd lose what makes you a male as well, what sits between your legs. Isn't that would just somewhat nod and go, well, I guess I'd have to train in your chakra then, but I also want to get stronger with my own, so at the very least to at least maybe try and prolong it. So just nod, well, yeah, well, I'll just note that you will eventually become a gal, Naruto, but because you're pretty much, well, the seal is always drawing on a small amount of my chakra, so you will eventually become a gal, but as I said, the more you use of my chakra, the faster the process will be, sooner you'll become a gal. Naruto just somewhat nod as should go now. Sleep, kid, just sleep. As Naruto would yawn and would somewhat snuggle up to Kurama as he would close his eyes, as he would say, thank you for helping me, and you're a pretty good person. I should fall asleep, should think person, I should look at herself and go, oh right, as should go, well, I guess when he wakes up it'd be surprised I can become a somewhat human. And this is where I'm going to end it, guys. So if you have enjoyed it, tell me in the comments down below. If you want a part 2, again, tell me in the comments down below. And yeah, also guys, if you want to join my Discord server, it's in the description down below. And yeah, and well, stay safe and good, and have a good day or night, depending on where you are in the world and depending on the time. And hey, good